there are a lot of people who were promised a happy ending through adoption, and they never got it. And that was the myth that a lot of adoptees were fed. And that's,
Did your parents ever say we saved you and all this stuff? It wasn't for us.
No one directly said that to me, but the way that my mom was treated as a saint for dealing with me.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They would tell me, my mom would not hesitate to tell me that people would tell her, oh, they feel so sorry for her because of me.
Oh, you were right there in the room?
Oh yeah, this is all normal. This is all normal behavior.
That's horrible.
I'm telling you, I have come from a background where I would have anyone would have a lot of rights to not be to be angry, and so I know that there are tons of people who are still extremely upset with how they were treated, how they never had a choice in adoption, how people are still speaking for adoptees instead of adoptees speaking for themselves. That would be like a white person speaking for the Asian experience. Right now what we have are a lot of adoptive parents speaking for how their adoptees turned out. Yeah. And that's extremely upsetting. And people are upset because it's like you're banging on a construct of society that just won't budge.
I'm just amazed at the naiveness of thinking you would have a happy ending, like when they adopted you.
Because so one of the pieces of the autoethnography that I wanted to look at was the marketing materials going back from the 50s. Even before that, for transracial adoption, when it started trickling out and then exploded for Asians, and how people were promised a dream of a person who would again be that blank slate, which that theory has long been dispelled. Adoptees were expected to fulfill somebody's dreams, and when the adoptee ended up suffering from obvious issues, not every adoptee does this, but for the ones
Pretty high suicide rate.
There is, and it's a frustration and a clear sign of someone's not listening.
There needs to be a book like yours. There needs to be some hub where adoptees can go to. That, hey, I understand you. Some people might not have figured it out as much as you have. You're the one of the lucky ones, actually, who put it together.
It's so funny you say lucky, because
is that the right word?
No, I think it's funny because I wrote a published piece. My first published piece was by a small publishing house in Philly, an indie press. Love indie presses.
Yeah, indie presses rock.
Yeah.
Screw you, big publishers.
30 West Publishing. So.
Screw you, random publishing.
I know.
Penguin.
I know. I don't want to say that. I might go to them one day. So.
A couple of blocks from here.
Sorry. What were we just talking about? You're making me laugh and I forget everything.
Crap. Before the publishing thing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're talking about, you're talking about the suicide rate.
No, that they need a voice to hear.
Yes, they need a voice because a lot of people are finally speaking out. Yeah. And a lot of people are. The lucky ones, is what you said. Ones, yeah. I wrote, my first published piece was called The Lucky Ones, and it's dispelling the myth that everybody wants to think that adoptees are lucky to be saved, lucky to have a family. And I'm not offended, don't worry. I
didn't mean that. I mean like you weren't one of the ones.
No, this is what I'm getting to, is that it's funny you use that word, because a lot of adoptees have heard that their whole life, and part of not getting their happy ending is that when they realize the losses they've endured, they don't feel lucky at all. So I do feel fortunate that I have cultivated a support system, but I need you to know many are struggling. And there is a lack of, there are adoption competent therapists, but they not necessarily adoptee competent. which means that they might focus more on the parents' issues than the child or the adoptees. So there is a serious need for this. Only now are people really, again, talking about it, but that's why they're so angry. And I admit, it took years of being alone to get to this point. And I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have some pretty intense regular therapy, and which not everybody can get. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I am saying that this issue shouldn't be, look at what it's doing.
Well, what you're saying is you were actually fortunate enough to actually have therapy. Some people might not even have that.
Or the support to go find it.
Yeah.
And that's even worse.
Well, what about those people? Yeah. That's what I meant by lucky. Like,
no, I know.
You came out of it kind of intact.
You know what? And yeah, no, I don't think it's bad that you said that at all. I just think it's funny because I do think about that. And I do this for those people who are scared. Because, and their parents, because these people don't know. And you're right, it's a struggle every single day.
Do you mind if I put your email address on the podcast and just like if someone's watching
That's
this and just
That's
can
fine.
reach out to you?
That's fine.
Yeah. It's so has the Asian adoptee community, like what is the adoptee community like right now? Is it kind of still in infancy? It's
There's a lot of people adoptees who are making significant strides in advocacy and outreach to people. There seems to be a division in the adoptee community.
Oh, really? There's a division.
That's what I mean when we talk about, when we talked about the Twitter stuff. I am not surprised at all because there is a pro-adoption camp and an anti-adoption camp.
Oh,
there is
that same song and dance.
So that's what I meant, because the criticism that I get is that I haven't taken a side. I support all of my friends and adoptees, even if I don't even know them. I support you regardless of what you're doing, because
in this day and age, the most evil thing to do is to be a centrist. People don't like that anymore. Like, that's out of fashion now, and you are doing the right thing, but it's not popular anymore.
And you know what?
People rage. They want blah blah. Like,
I'm mad.
Yeah.
I am mad.
But your message is that we should all get along. That's your message. That makes you a centrist.
My message is that the truth lies somewhere between our experiences. And I don't know what I am.
I actually have a really good quote for you.
Okay.
You said somewhere along the line, identities get tangled up with activism and opinions. Our experiences, after all, define us. Vicious attacks on adoptees, adoptive parents, and birth families follow comments expressing deeply rooted desires for recognition. It's basically what you said in a much fancier way. Yeah.
So yes. And then within transracial adoption, it gets more complicated, of course, because you have Asian adoptees and other transracial adoptees who are very hesitant to speak out against their white parents and the racism if it existed. It doesn't always, but if it did, we should hear about it. They deserve support, and it's extremely difficult. And I, behind the scenes, I'm pissed. I am angry. I am offended. I want change. But
what kind of change are you talking about? What is the adoptee community like? Like, what's going on?
There are a lot of hurt people who are just doing what...
They're lost?
I wouldn't say they're lost. We're all at different stages. And
what are the stages?
I'm sorry?
What are the stages? Denial.
I was going there too. I'm like
alcohol?
In a way, that's a hard question, because I think everybody wants just to feel like they belong. And I think that's what everybody is seeking.
And in this way, it makes you very Asian, because all Asians go through an identity-seeking crisis,
Which, yes.
So welcome to Asian America.
And you know what? When you're raised white, you have.
Jury's longer.
And you know what? But yes, the adoptee community can be very difficult because there's a fight to be heard against an overwhelming focus on adoptive parents. Then there's that conflict of, well, I wrote an article about Jeffrey Lee and how normalizing it was to see a family of Asian people on America's Got Talent, and they were just being a family. But several of adoptees and I were talking, and they say you can guarantee that if he was adopted, the fact he was adopted would come up. So there is this conflict of, okay, so which is objectifying. You don't get up on stage and talk about your Asianness. I mean, if you were singing a song, right? Yeah. So think about that message that you're getting sent. So there's a lot of identity issues. But then there are the people who are genuinely had a great experience, who adoption really works for. That is one of the reasons why I'm involved in the one volunteer organization I am, is it because
different voices.
Have
you met someone super happy? Have you ever met a super happy adoptee before?
I've met people who are extremely thankful because their previous situation was not healthy for them. That happens a lot. In the volunteer organization, just CASA for children, you see it all the time. I volunteered with them to see this side of it because, again, I'm hearing a lot of polarized views, the extremes. I said, no. I know there's evidence that it's the system, that there's got to be times where it's not all good and it's not all. It's more where it's not all good. Adoption isn't all good. Adoption isn't all bad.